Taking steps to simplify your life can be so worth it, and I personally believe that it doesn't have to be very complicated or a lot of work to embrace a more minimalist lifestyle and simplify your life. And I find that often the biggest gains and progress can be found through the small daily things that we do. So in today's video, I want to share 10 daily habits that I do in my life and that you can start doing as well to live more simply. Many of the tips that I share in today's video come from my online Simplify Your Life course called In Love with Your Life. And this is a self-paced online course where you get access to a new lesson each week for 20 weeks. And it offers in-depth guidance to help you make real change and simplify all big aspects of your life. So if you'd like to know more about this program, then you can find the link in the description. One of the habits that I've implemented for myself is to say no more often, because if we say yes to everyone and everything, our life is going to get very busy, very cluttered fast, because there's just not enough time and space in the world. And because I had a little trouble deciding if I should say yes or no a lot of the times, I decided to implement the following strategy, and that is, if it is not a clear yes, it's a no. I apply this principle whenever I am making a purchasing decision, but also when I am trying to decide whether or not to accept an invitation or a commitment or a project. And for example, I used to be very indecisive whenever I was trying on new clothing in the store, and this led me to buy a couple of things that were not a clear yes, and of course these were the items that I ended up hardly ever wearing. So now when I am making a purchasing decision, it has to be 100% perfect, so a clear yes. Otherwise, it's a no. And the same goes for accepting commitments or invitations. And here is something that I would like to add though, because in order for something to be a clear yes, it doesn't mean that it needs to be super fun. Sometimes something can be a clear yes because you'd be helping someone out or there's another value to it. So it is more about being very intentional with what you're letting into your life and making sure that it adds value. And it is not about only doing the fun things. In all honesty, I had some trouble learning to say no, and I still think it's difficult sometimes because the inner people pleaser just doesn't want to disappoint people or offend them, especially when they take us by surprise and we didn't see it coming. So I was thinking about a couple of things that I could do to protect myself a little bit from that and become better at saying no. And I decided to implement the following strategy that is still helping me out big time even to this day. So whenever I'm in doubt, I have a rule for myself that I am not allowed to say yes immediately, and instead I'll just say I'll think about it. And this way I don't let myself get caught off guard and I don't have to decide on the spot, and I'll just say I'll think about it and then make sure to get back to that person later that day or the next day. This gives me time to distance myself from it a little bit, take some time to think it over, and if I decide that I'm going to say no, also gives me time to prepare my answer a little bit and think about what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it. And this has really been super helpful for me. This next daily habit I've been doing for a couple of months now, and it is making a huge difference in my life, a lot more than I expected actually, and that is to choose one activity per day and try to do that in silence and with mindfulness. So no distractions. That means you're not also talking with someone or listening to a video or a podcast or music even, just focusing your attention on that small task and doing it in silence with all your attention. It's so easy to get in the habit of always having something on in the background, especially if you're alone. But then there's always information coming at us. And this was a pitfall for me too, because I love listening to podcasts and videos, and I always have something on in the background. But it was only when I started implementing those mindful moments of silence into my day that I started to notice just how much I was cramming into my brain all day. And that can actually be pretty exhausting. So sometimes I will use watering the plants or hanging up the laundry. Sometimes I will eat some fruit or drink some tea. It can be really small if you're busy. It can also be something like brushing your teeth, as long as you try to be mindful while you're doing it. And if you find this challenging, that is probably a sign that you need it a little bit more. That's really how it works with me. And if you are already doing this, let me know in the comments how and when you are implementing this. I really want to know. Before we continue, a short break for today's sponsor, Native. Thanks so much for supporting the channel and sponsoring the video. I made the switch to a natural deodorant a few years ago because I just found it a reassuring feeling to know that I am not putting things like aluminum and parabens on my underarms. And I have been using native deodorants for about 4 or 5 months now, and I can honestly say they are the best I've ever tried. They have many different scents, and this time I chose Sweet Peach and Nectar, Cactus Flower Poppy, and Eucalyptus Mint. And I have to say I like them all, but definitely Sweet Peach and Nectar is my favorite. It just smells so incredibly fresh and sweet, and I feel like I've never smelled better in my life. And whenever you start to sweat a little bit, like after doing exercise or something like that, you only smell the deodorant more, so it really keeps you fresh all day. They also dry quickly, they're not sticky, and they're free from aluminum, parabens, and sulfates. And they use recognizable ingredients like shea butter, coconut oil, and of course they are also vegan and cruelty-free, which is always something I look for. So if you're interested in trying out these natural deodorants, you can save 33% on your first native pack plus free shipping if you use this code right here. Link is in the description. This next one has been a huge game changer for me, and I think it's probably the most important one that I'm going to share today. And that is to schedule free time for yourself and to create blocks of free time into your calendar, and to take them seriously, which means that you take that time that you schedule for yourself just as seriously as you take the time that you've scheduled that involves other people. In my experience, our calendars sometimes seem to fill themselves up automatically, and we almost don't even have to do anything. From small tasks to big appointments, if we wait and if we are very passive, usually that means that there's almost no time left over. So the trick is to turn that around and become much more proactive and actually schedule those blocks of free time into your calendar as soon as you can. And that time then becomes yours to do with as you please at that moment in time. Now, depending on your personality and also how much alone time you need, this can look differently for everyone. You could have a rule that you always leave your Sunday open, or that you have 1 hour of free time every day and you schedule that in, or like half a day a week or something like that. So do what works for you and that fits your schedule, but try to do it as soon as you can, preferably right after scheduling work or school. The next habit to simplify your life is to have a list of easy and simple go-to meals that you enjoy. So I don't know about you, but for me, I find that it sometimes takes up a lot of energy having to figure out what I'm going to make for dinner. And I like to cook, so that is not the problem, but just scrolling through all these recipes and stuff, it can get really annoying if you just don't know what you're gonna make. So I like to have a list of at least 5 to 10 different go-to meals that I can choose from that are healthy and easy to make. So once or twice a week, I'll try out a new recipe, or I'll make something that takes a little bit more time when I can really enjoy it. And those other days, I'll just choose something from my go-to list that is easy and that I can make without thinking too much about it. And if I find a new recipe that I really like, I'll add it to my list. This next habit is really important, and I've shared a bit about this before on the channel, to find a sleep schedule and work schedule that suits you. And I am not necessarily a big fan of forcing ourselves into a schedule that just doesn't feel natural. Some people are morning people, others are not. And for example, I cannot really be mentally productive in the evenings, but for some people that's when their mind starts to really turn on, and that is fine. A big part of simple living is to take trends like this productivity trend with a grain of salt and not forcing yourself to try and do something that just doesn't work for you. And that is also why a while ago I made the video explaining why I do not participate in that waking up at 5 a.m. YouTube trend. So I will leave it for you in the description box if you're interested. Personally, I do not think that it matters when or how late in the day you are productive, as long as you are productive whenever it feels the most natural and easy for you, because that is when it's going to be the most efficient and effective. This next one is very easy and practical, but super effective. So since a few months, me and my boyfriend now have a designated place in our home to place our phone, and that is where they go. And it is a small tray on our living room dresser where they all fit nicely together. So whenever we're at home, we place our phone in the designated spot instead of having it right next to us. And what this does is it makes you painfully aware of how often you want to check your phone, because you have to walk all the way across the room. And so instead of having it right next to you, it makes it so much easier to focus on something without getting distracted by your phone. Speaking of phones, try to make it into into a daily habit to unplug and disconnect, if even only for 30 minutes. There's so much to say on this topic, and I think most people know why this is so important. So if you are not doing this already, see if you can start. And I always recommend having a screen-free moment in the mornings and the evenings. Another great habit to try doing to simplify your life more is to be very respectful of your home and your belongings, and trying to make sure that you are taking care of your belongings well, so that they can last you a long time, that you can get a lot of use out of them, and you don't have to replace things as often. Most of my possessions are things that I've had for years and years, and the less often you have to replace something, the fewer new purchases you have to make, which can help to save money, but also time and energy. Also, learn to love empty spaces in your home. I think it's very natural to see an empty corner or an empty wall or an empty shelf and immediately start thinking about ways to fill that up, and we don't have to fill them up. And keeping a space empty can work wonders for letting your home feel calm and simple, so learn to love these spaces and keep them empty. Another daily habit that I've been doing to simplify my life is to plan my days and my tasks better. And my natural tendency is to keep my to-do list in my head, but I found that actually writing it down, taking just a few minutes to write it down, helps me to be more organized and also helps my days go more smoothly. But even more important than being productive, I find that keeping my to-do list in my head makes it seem a lot longer than it actually is, and it can stress me out without it needing to. So if I write down my to-do list, it can either do one of two things. Either I see that it's actually not so bad and there's no need to stress out about it, and I can find moments to relax as well. Or I see, yes, it's actually too long, and then I go over the tasks and see if there's anything that isn't so important that it has to be done today, and I cross it off my list. So it's a win-win. Thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you could give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, because those things really help to support the channel. It helps this video reach more people. And if you have any questions about my online Simplify Your Life course, please leave them down below. And I am filming with some new equipment today, so let me know what you think. I'm really excited about it. Right here I have 30 more ways to simplify your life today, and if you are interested in digital minimalism, you're gonna want to check out this video. As always, questions, comments, conversation down below, and I'll see you next week, my friends. Bye bye!